So in today's video, we're going to show you 2 things in your golf swing which, if done correctly, can really improve your consistency out on the golf course. So we're out here on the beautiful Arden course at the Forest of Arden. This is the 6th hole. And in today's video, you're going to learn how to control the club face through the backswing so it's in a good position at the top of the swing. And then you're going to learn how the first move down can really influence your impact position and how the 2 movements together can really improve your consistency when you play golf on the golf course. Now, just before we get started, if you are new here, this is one of your first videos, you've not seen me before, you've not seen any of my content, there are 3 videos going up each and every week to help you play some better golf, and I'd love you to be a part of that and be a subscriber. There's a link down in the description box down below, and there's a clickable link at the end of the video as well. It's absolutely free, it just means you'll get notified each time I upload a video. So we're going to start with the club face. And many coaches will say that the club face is king, and I would sort of agree with that. If the club face gets out of position, we can hit good shots, but those good shots are generally through compensations. If we get the club face under control, we can start to elevate your consistency and play more consistent golf on the course. So we're going to give you a couple of checkpoints that can help you do this. And the good news here is that you can get the club face under control in your golf swing, even if your grip is non-perfect. So if you feel like maybe you've got a slightly weaker grip or a slightly stronger grip, you can still get the club face under control. It obviously helps if the grip is good, but we're going to talk a little bit more about the club face and a little bit less about the grip in this particular video. So when we're moving that club away into the takeaway, that first sort of checkpoint when the club is level with the ground, I'd love you to have the club face so the grooves are somewhere between vertical, as you can see there, and slightly turned in. My preference would be slightly turned in, but it depends a little bit about when and how you fold your arm. So rather than getting bogged down with a particular position, as long as it's somewhere between vertical and a little bit turned in, that's really going to give you the checkpoints that you need. If we can continue that movement, when we get to the top of the golf swing, we'd really be looking for that club face and that, again, that leading edge to be somewhat matching the lead forearm. And you can see how the club face there is pretty close to that lead forearm. The most common one that we see is at the top of the golf swing, the toe hangs too much down towards the ground. And you can see those 2 kind of lines no longer marry up. And like we said at the start, if that is me, I can absolutely hit good shots, but it's going to be through maybe a downswing shape which is a little bit different. It's going to be through a release which is maybe a little bit different, and we start to compromise other things, maybe distance, maybe strike, maybe trajectory, in order to make that ball go straight. So it's really important for the majority of golfers that we get that club face under control. So I'd love you to work on first movement away, keeping that club face under control, and then at the top matching that lead forearm. And you'll see that for me to do that, my lead wrist is pretty flat. Any kind of movement this way, club face opens. Any movement this way, club face closes. I would have a preference for it to be closed over open, but really either of those is going to give you issues in the downswing. So now let's move on to the second thing, which is how we start that downswing. So as we talk about the transition from backswing to downswing, there's a movement in there which we generally tend to see from the better players. They often all do this or very close to do it, and we often don't see it from the golfers that struggle. Now, before we talk about that movement, we need to go to impact, and we need a reference point for impact. So if I take my starting position to this golf ball, what we would generally tend to see is that in most cases, when we get to impact, the grip or the hand of the golf could be slightly higher. So let's say it's around about here. And we're going to call that the impact shaft angle. So if I place that line on there, I've tried to get this alignment stick as close as I can to that. You can see that line on there. Now when I make my backswing, even though I might have a fairly orthodox backswing, you can see how the hands, the arms and the club are much higher than that line. And what we would tend to see is the better golfers, the more accomplished golfers, tend to get the club shaft to that line much earlier in the downswing. So let me show you what I mean. There's my line. Top of the backswing, the hands are higher, the club is higher. What we would tend to see all too often is as a golfer starts down, they maintain or increase the distance that their club is away from that line. What this means is through impact, they're going to have to recover that. They're going to have to do lots of things like standing up, stalling rotation, flipping the hands, all of those kind of things, because we know that the club's going to roughly get back to that impact line at some point. What we would tend to see from the elite golfers is, yes, they'd be higher than that line at the top, but as they start down and they rotate their hips and their legs, the club tends to work to that line pretty early. Not straight away, but by the time the lead arm gets about level with the ground, you'd find that the club is around about on that line. So if we kind of link those two things together, what would that tell us about that halfway down position? Well, if we'd controlled the club face through the backswing, so the club face is under control, as we start down, we drop the golf club to that delivery club shaft angle. When we're at this point here, this left arm horizontal, club face under control, club shaft is on the right angle. How do we deliver the club? We just rotate through, and ultimately, as we're rotating through, we apply as much speed as we can to the golf club to make sure the ball goes as far as we can make it go with that consistency that we spoke about. What many of you are going to find is by that point in your downswing, by that kind of halfway down point here, club face isn't under control and the club isn't on its shaft, its impact angle. So you've now got the time it takes you to get from that point to the golf ball, which as you can imagine isn't particularly long, to try and fix those things, to try and square the face and try and get that golf club onto that impact angle. Which is why many of you through impact will see movements in your golf swing that you don't like, you know, standing up or flicking the hands or stored in the body, or all these things that you see within your impact is often because the club isn't correct in its delivery position. This is how we're going to work on it. This is my alignment stick here, which is roughly, as I said, trying to get it the same as my impact angle. So notice it's not quite the same as my setup, but as I get to impact, my hands would raise up. So I can just rehearse up to the top, club face under control, and just returning my golf club underneath this alignment stick. Now that doesn't necessarily improve my downswing on its own, but the idea that I'm trying to get my golf club lower than that is really going to help me shallow it or lower it in that early downswing. Just a point on that, notice how the angle of my golf club isn't changing. So I'm not shallowing the golf club, I'm just lowering it to its impact angle, which allows me to turn through and hit that golf ball with that all elusive consistency that we're after. So what we generally tend to see from the really good golfers, the golfers that we see on TV, the ladies, the gents on the ladies tour, the PGA tour, they have great control of the club face throughout the golf swing. And they get the golf club lowering very early in the downswing so they can just rotate through. And their main concern is really just trying to deliver the power with the contact. So I can absolutely hit little shots doing this. I can take my starting position, I can control the club face, I can rehearse lowering the golf club, and then as I've done that a couple of times, I can just go ahead and chip it off the tee peg. Now, the ball's probably gone 50 or 60 yards there. It's actually gone right onto that bridge. That was pretty much where I was aiming. Any contact wasn't great, but it's a rehearse, it's a drill. I'm trying to feel that change in angle on the way down, that lowering of the golf club to allow me to turn through, as I just demonstrated in that video. I don't particularly do this that well in my golf swing, so I'm going to throw up a golf swing in this video. But it's not something I do particularly well, it's something I'm working towards. It's the reason why when I do play golf, I don't play as consistently as I'd like to, and it is something that I am working on improving in my golf swing. If you work on it in your golf swing as well, I believe you're going to get more consistency, and that really just leads to lower scores, more fun, you'll often hit the ball further, all those things that we really want when we go out and play 18 holes. So thanks for watching, hopefully information in there which you can use in your next practice session, and also when you're videoing your golf swing, a few things that you can look out for as well. Thanks for watching. Usual stuff is down below, there's a comments box down there. Give this video a thumbs up if you did like it, that really does help me. And also that subscribe link that we mentioned at the start of the video is right over there. I would love you to be part of my channel and we can help you play some better golf. Thanks for watching.